All right, this is Arun Gupta. Work for the developer advocacy team at Couchbase. Today I have Zach Grimana with me. Hey, Zach.
Hey, how's it going, Arun?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So today we will be talking about Couchbase Mobile and how is it relevant to Xamarin developers. Now, for people who don't know, Zach, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure. So as Arun mentioned, I'm Zach Romana. I'm the product manager for Couchbase Mobile here at Couchbase. Previous to coming here, I actually was a Xamarin employee. In fact, true story, I started working rather on Couchbase Mobile as the engineer that did Couchbase Lite for .NET. So I began porting the Java version to .NET when I was an engineer at Couchbase, and made the jump over here to be able to continue working on it all the way through to our 1.04 release before switching focus and taking on the job of product manager.
Excellent, excellent. So you definitely have a lot of Xamarin experience, and you're certainly the man for Couchbase Mobile.
Thanks. Yeah, I can't really see it, but I'm repping my Xamarin shirt right now. So
that's
yeah.
Cool.
And
so for people, yeah, sure. You have something else to show?
Oh yeah, well, the other thing. So we work downtown here in San Francisco. So I love to rep my C-sharp T-shirt here. So in the midst of all of the cool Node kids and the Golang kids and everything else. So
very cool, excellent. Now, for people who don't know what Couchbase Mobile is, do you mind giving us a quick introduction? What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So many of your viewers are likely familiar with our Couchbase Server product, and what Couchbase Mobile does. It's a product family that extends the database to the edge of the network, and the network for most of us is the internet. So we give two additional components that connect up with ultimately the Couchbase Server cluster running in your data center. We give you an embedded NoSQL database that's written, in this case, in .NET, that you build into your applications that you're building, and we ship that as a NuGet package or via the Xamarin Component Store. And you just drop it into your application, and you get a powerful yet lightweight NoSQL database there. We also provide a middle-tier product that sits at the edge of your data center, whether that's running in a public cloud like Azure or AWS, or whether that's in your own company's private data center co-located somewhere. And what it does is it's ultimately a web server that handles the normal web server cross-cutting concerns like authentication and authorization. But it also handles the duty of coordinating, tens or hundreds of thousands of little Couchbase Lite databases that are syncing and pushing data up so they can be saved in the data center, and also pulling the relevant data back down to each Couchbase Lite. Because one of the major value-added features of Couchbase Mobile is that we give you full bidirectional sync built in for free. You don't have to do any work other than 5 or 6 lines of code tops in your application, and that way changes that you make locally get pushed up to the data center as quick as possible, and changes that other people make are pulled down as quickly as possible. But if the network isn't there because you're in bad reception or no Wi-Fi or airplane mode, what have you, you can continue working. And again, your app doesn't need to do anything special to do that. And as soon as you come online, we'll sync everything up. But that sync happens over the web, and in order to provide those capabilities, and also to make sure that if you have 15 terabytes of data in your data center, you're not trying to pull down 15 terabytes of data to each phone, but you're only syncing the data that a user should have and is supposed to have access to.
Right. So synchronization is a very hard problem, and in that sense, Couchbase Mobile not only provides a mobile database that sits on your device, but it provides a bidirectional sync, which allows you to synchronize your device to the data center and vice versa.
Yeah, and on that note, we allow you to configure it. So if you have an application where you don't need bidirectional functionality, or you don't need bidirectional functionality all the time, you can customize that. I mean, as mobile app developers, we have to be good stewards, as it were, of our users' phones while we're on them. And if we're not being careful, we can drain their battery very quickly. And that irritates people, and that can lead to uninstalls, which is probably the worst outcome for us as mobile app developers. So what we do is we give you the tools so that based on the needs of the different data flows in your application at any moment, you can choose, do I need to have continuous bidirectional, or do I just need to every so often push my changes or pull whatever has happened since I last checked in? So that way you can kind of build your policies up and use the radios for the least amount of time possible.
Right. Now, you mentioned, of course, we run on Xamarin, but Couchbase Mobile is not just a Xamarin mobile database. It runs on a variety of platforms. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a full implementation in Objective-C with Swift bindings. We have a full implementation in Java as well. And then even on the .NET side of things, we not only support, of course, Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android and Xamarin Mac, but also just basic Mono on Linux. In fact, I'm working on a project right now that I'll be demoing at Evolve that's actually using Couchbase Lite on top of Mono and the Yocto Linux distribution running on a very tiny Intel Edison, which is super small. We work great there too, and as well as command line OS 10. Basically anywhere that Mono or full .NET runs, including Windows Desktop as well and WPF. So we have broad coverage, not just in .NET as well, but also in Java and Objective-C.
Nice. So certainly, on the server we have a variety of languages that we cover in terms of SDK, and that is not just confined to server. Even on the mobile side of it, we cater to multiple platforms. So if developers come to Couchbase, they get a full stack polyglot database on both mobile and on data center with a sync gateway in the middle that really synchronizes their applications and data.
Yeah, and if REST or Web APIs are your jam, we also have not only our PhoneGap plugins, but each one of our Couchbase Lites has its own optional embedded database that you can build into your mobile apps or desktop apps as well. So from there, you can actually build your hybrid applications, hybrid desktop applications, build your own essentially web or REST-based applications. So we're open to even all of the Ionic and Angular and Ember and yada yada yada, all of the other web frameworks out there for people who that's their primary stack.
All right, cool. Now, is Couchbase Mobile the only option available to Xamarin developers, or are there other mobile databases? And how are we different from those?
Yeah, I think most, that's a good question. So I think most Xamarin developers that are using databases and that aren't using Couchbase Lite are probably using SQLite directly. And or they are, if not directly, they're using it through one of the ORMs out there. And so probably the biggest differences that you're going to see is one, Couchbase Lite is a schemaless database. So that means you no longer have to, create tables and all that kind of stuff. You no longer need to do object relational mapping. Our core interface is just dictionaries, just like everybody's used to using. And you can, shove a dictionary, even with lots of nested objects in it, and you pull it right back out again. So that's huge, because as your data model changes over time, you don't have to spend a lot of time and energy writing a bunch of schema migration code. And most developers have at one point or another thought about making a change to a domain model, like renaming a property to be more understandable to their themselves or other colleagues or what have you, and thought, it's not. I don't want to write a migration just for that one thing. It's kind of a pain. I'll wait till I have to make a couple of other changes, and then I'll do a migration. And you don't want to be compromising, your code quality or your velocity just because, of the, crankiness and cruftiness of working with your database. So, we don't have, Couchbase Lite based applications don't need to suffer from that. And you're doing all your code in C#, which is cool. So, that's one of the big differences. The other big difference is, unlike SQLite, we expose an event stream in essence. So all of our core objects, like our database object, our query objects, our replication objects, even our individual documents have a changed event on them that you can add an event handler to. And that's a really powerful way of working. If you're familiar with common patterns now like MVVM or reactive programming, the value of this. You can, especially if you're using something like Xamarin Forms, you can, as your application's launching and you wire up your models, you just add an event handler for your database, let's say, to your your view models, and then at that point, regardless of whether your data changes because of a local CRUD operation or because of a incoming sync change that somebody else made, you have one code path. You don't have to do anything, and your UI just updates itself and keeps track as things change. So it's really powerful, and it cuts down on a lot of code and a lot of time that you have to spend.
Yeah. So just like on server, we have flexible schema. There is no structure over there. You define the structure. Your application defines the structure. So that's one big powerful thing, which is available on Couchbase Lite as well, unlike SQLite, which is a structured database. And then second part that you said is the event notification or event handling, where you can make it more reactive and more responsive as opposed to always going in a procedural way.
Yeah, that's right. And we even have some other cool features too that are really nice value adds that, again, can shave tons of time off of your application's development timeline. Things like file attachments. So one of the things you can do with our document, which is sort of our version of a row in SQLite, is I can just attach arbitrary files to it, PDFs or MP3s, Excel files, you name it. And when I do that, we take care of all of the sync of that as well. So that stuff syncs in the background, like just like anything else. So normally that's a lot of code. That's a lot of web server code. And now you don't have to write that. We just take care of it for you, and which is really cool. And if you're building like hybrid apps, and even if you're not, even if you're just building traditional Xamarin or Xamarin Forms apps, you can actually do things like in-field updates of your UI. If you're using, for instance, like XAML files to define your UI or navigation, or in a hybrid app, you can ship new JS or CSS or HTML files and actually update your app remotely without having to redeploy in the app stores. And another big value add feature that we provide that SQLite doesn't is peer-to-peer. So because we have that little embedded web API for Couchbase Lite earlier, which we call the listener, that allows us to actually take two instances of your app and directly replicate and sync with each other, even without having our server or our gateway running in the cloud somewhere. In fact, you can do it even without a Wi-Fi network. You could do this over Bluetooth PAN or Wi-Fi Direct. So it's really cool, very powerful. And again, this is all stuff that's just baked in that requires a few lines of code to get it running, and that's it.
This is pretty cool, actually. So I think I'm sold on Couchbase Lite for
Nice.
Xamarin. How do I get started? Like, if I'm a Xamarin developer, I have a need for a mobile database, and you say SQLite doesn't provide that sync capability anyway. So we have a sync capability as well. So how do I get started with Xamarin and Couchbase Mobile together?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is to either go to the Xamarin Component Store and add Couchbase Lite, or to just go directly to NuGet and add it off of NuGet, just searching on Couchbase Lite. And you'll be up and running there. Just like with any other Xamarin component, if you do take the Xamarin component approach, you'll also get the getting started guide, markdown file, and the sample apps. The sample apps are also available on GitHub in our Couchbase Lite.net repo. And you can also, that's just the easiest way. And then from there, you can jump to our mobile portal, which is developer.couchbase.com/mobile, to get tutorials, API references, all that good stuff. And we also have links to sample apps that you can get as well, sample code.
Nice.
We even provide the full source for our own conference app, our Evolve conference app from both last year and the year before, which we actually wrote using Xamarin Forms. So that gives you a very robust application that's based on Couchbase Lite that you can use, and it's permissibly licensed, so you can take it and change the names on some things and some colors and make it yours.
Yeah. So I think the key part for people to remember is, one is the Xamarin Component Store, where they can download Couchbase Lite from, and the second is the mobile developer portal, which is developer.couchbase.com/mobile, because that's where they will find all the good stuff on the documentation, etc. That's over there.
Yeah, and don't forget NuGet. So, yep.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So now you talked briefly about this. You and Wayne, who is the mobile architect at Couchbase, you guys are giving a talk at Xamarin Evolve. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the talk is about?
Yeah, so our talk is titled, Forget About Your Database, Just Build Apps That Work. And the focus of the talk is going to be basically what you need to do, or how to go about forgetting about your database. And that sounds like a funny thing for a database company to be talking about, but at the end of the day, look, we get it, we're developers. I mean, what we want to do is make working with data easy and fun, and probably half of you are probably laughing to yourself right now, because most of the time working with data is anything but easy and fun. And so what we want to do is, and what we're going to do is, spend that time during that talk showing you how, for reals, you can do that, and show you how to let us do the hard work for you, and then what it means to build an app this way, because it is different. And the nice thing is it's delightfully different. So it's basically, we want to just show you how to wire up the magic.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think so I would highly encourage, because as an app developer, I want to care about my niche. My niche is writing the application logic. What are my application development concerns? How do I do security? How do I do authentication, authorization? Let somebody else take care of it. I should write maybe a few lines and let somebody else take care of it. And I think that's the value that Couchbase Mobile provides. So this would be definitely one of the big talks that I would love to see. Now, to give you a little bit more perspective, I was at Microsoft Build a couple of days back, and I was talking to the Xamarin guys. And I would say Couchbase, I work for Couchbase, so they were pretty excited as well. And with the recent acquisition of Xamarin by Microsoft, I think this is definitely going to help us, with a wider outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. And we participated in the .NET Foundation since its very first day. In fact, that got started back when I was still at Xamarin, and Couchbase Lite for .NET was actually a Xamarin project. Yeah, we've been a very big part of a lot of the core of the open source .NET community. Something we're really proud of. And yeah, seeing things like Xamarin itself now being contributed, and of course Mono being contributed to the .NET Foundation is really exciting for us too.
Right. Okay, cool. Now, we are also a sponsor of Xamarin Evolve, and we have a booth over there, and I've heard we're doing some fun things in the booth. So do you want to give a kind of quick preview of what we're going to do at the booth?
Yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. So one of the things we're going to be excited to talk about is we've been doing a lot of work with Intel's IoT group. So we're going to have a little booth demo where we're driving around a cool little thing, and I don't want to spill too much of the beans there and save a little bit of suspense. But we're going to give you a project that you can work on, like a mini hack, and it'll be using both Xamarin and Couchbase Lite to build a remote control interface for this thing. And we're going to be using that peer-to-peer replication technology that we were just talking about to work directly with the other side of the software, also open source, running on the Intel Edison, that will be kind of controlling this bot, and you'll be able to use it to score some swag. So
nice.
It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because that way developers actually get to try a real application, and they see it right in action, where the bot is moving. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the neat thing about the project is it's all going to be open source software and open source hardware. So if you want to build the same thing, you can grab it all and go buy it all, and customize it and go create something new with it.
Excellent, very good. Zach, I think this has been really useful. Do you have any concluding remarks for Xamarin Evolve attendees?
No, nothing other than can't wait to meet you. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be a special time.
Yeah, I mean, knowing you, I can imagine, fun is an So definitely my point would go to Zach. I work for Couchbase too, so I would highly encourage to not only attend the talk by Zach and Wayne, also visit us on the Couchbase booth, and then visit the developer portal, which is developer.couchbase.com/mobile for anything that is mobile related.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach, so much.
Thanks, appreciate it, and I'll see some of you at the Darwin Lounge as well. Cheers.
All right. Yeah, bye.